Hi, everybody. You are watching the CD Junkie. My name is Steve Schnee, and I have put together another compilation featuring the best of my Beatles content. Now, those of you who know me, and I will say this several times during this video, the Beatles are my favorite band of all time, but there are so many other YouTube channels out there that feature Beatle content that there's no way that I could compete with them. And I've tried to get attention to my channel or just have a little bit of fun with my Beatles content, because none of it's really serious. I mean, I'm kind of making fun of the whole thing, but like I said, this is my favorite group of all time, and there are better Beatle channels out there, and some people are going to tell you that there's just better YouTube channels out there than mine. Well, you be the judge of that, and enjoy this Beatles heavy content on this collection right here on the CD Junkie. Hey everybody, it's me, Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie, and I've got a special video for you. The summer's coming up, and I've got just a great variety of shows that are going to be appearing through the summer. Hopefully it's going to build up my subscription and my view count, because this is actually the beginning of my drive to 10,000 subscribers. I've only got 9,200 to go, and I'm hoping that this really tips it over the top. Beatles shows always bring in viewers and subscribers. So I don't just have one Beatles show coming up this summer on my channel. I've got 3. We're going to start off with Beatles by County. Now, I can't afford to buy pressings from other countries, so what I've done is I put together a show where I talk about Beatles CDs that I bought from different counties. Check out this short clip. I've got post-it notes on all of them, so I'm reminding myself. I bought this on September 28th of 2010 in San Diego. This one I bought in Orange County on October 27th, 2017. Wow, that looks totally fantastic. Each episode spotlights one Beatle album, and I talk about up to 30 different versions of each CD that I've bought in counties up and down the coast in California. I think a favorite episode for everybody is going to be a show called Nothing But the Fucking Beatles. Beatles, 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 Beatles. Whoa, that one is action-packed. And I've got one more Beatles show to show you. It is called With the Beatles Experts, where I have hired and paid 2 of the internet's top Beatle experts to discuss the fascinating and wonderful history about the Beatles. Here's a clip of that show right now. Wow, I am honored. I am honored. And finally, the last show I want to talk on this episode of CD Junkie. I'm not going to be talking about CDs. I'm going to be talking about an artist that's on CDs, but, I'm not really going to talk about CDs at all. I'm going to talk about the Beatles. Now, a lot of people may not know this, but the Beatles are my favorite band of all time, but I don't talk about them because I feel that I want to put attention on bands that that deserve it, great bands that don't get a lot of attention. And, that's been, ultimately a detriment to my channel. I'm sure that if I talked about more Beatles, well, you know what? I can't even say that if I talked about more Beatles, I'd get more views and more subscribers, because there's people out there that would probably prefer to watch Matthew Street, Joe Mayo, Beatle Brad, guys like that, guys that have a lot of Beatle fans going to their channel and watching it. And I started thinking, well, maybe I will do a Beatles video, but then I started thinking, well, those guys always get the scoops first. They, get the emails. They scour for Beatles news every day. From what I understand, they all get up at like 3 o'clock and they just type in new Beatles news, and they just scan until they all find something to talk about. Actually, that's not really true. I just made that up. In fact, that's a perfect angle. Why don't I just make up stuff about the Beatles? And then that'll definitely get people to watch my video, because this is facts that nobody has ever heard before. So oh man, That's actually a good idea. That's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to present to you 8 completely untrue facts about the Beatles. None of these are real, but most people aren't going to be paying attention to what I'm saying now, and they're going to take them as real. And it's going to be rumors circulating the internet. It's going to go viral. It's going to be amazing. Or nobody's going to watch it. Well, heck, I'm still going to do it. So here are 8 completely untrue facts about the Beatles. The iconic cover photo featured on their debut album, Meet the Beatles, was taken by Jerry Lewis. The acclaimed actor and comedian was on a promotional tour of the UK promoting his Oscar-winning film, The Day the Clown Cried. While on a day off, John Lennon met Jerry Lewis at a Starbucks and, knowing he was an acclaimed award-winning photographer, asked if he would like to take a photo of his then-new band, the Beatles. Lewis agreed, and the rest, as they say, is history. The final recording to feature all 4 members of the Beatles together in the studio was Silly Love Songs, a song that was eventually left off of Abbey Road because they felt bad for Ringo and decided to let him put his Stupid Octopus song on the album instead. There are approximately 117 different fifth Beatles. No, wait, that fake random fact is actually true. What's that doing here? The original lineup of the Beatles featured John, Paul, George, Ringo, and Jones. However, both George Martin and Brian Epstein decided that the group didn't really need a guy to play maracas, so they eventually asked Davy Jones to leave the band. As a consolation, they still let him appear on the first Ed Sullivan show with the Beatles, just not with the Beatles. George Harrison never cared for John Lennon or Paul McCartney. He always felt that they were dead weight in the Beatles, and he only kept them around long enough for him to build up a stockpile of songs so he could record his magnum opus, Con Troppo. Both Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks sang backing vocals on All You Need Is Love and were featured in the original satellite TV broadcast in 1967. You can clearly hear them on a mono mix of the song that was only released in Portugal on the back of a box of Quisp cereal. The Beatles are overrated, and the only reason people talk about them on the internet is so that they could make them seem better than they actually were, and then sell their cheap-ass collectible trinkets and make some bank. Well, I hope you enjoyed those 8 completely untrue facts about the Beatles. They were fake and random, and I just thought, what the heck? Let's get in some more viewers and, dazzle them with all this knowledge, which is just a bunch of lies. Should I call them lies or untruths or, I don't know. You still watched it, right? Thank you. Remember to hit like, share, subscribe. I forgot what I say all the time. Remember to ring that bell for future notifications. I appreciate you watching this video, taking the time. I know that time is very precious to all of us. I appreciate you. And until the next time, remember me. I'm Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie. This episode of CD Junkie, I'm not going to talk about any CDs. I'm actually going to give you my predictions for the forthcoming Beatles-related releases for 2023 and 2024. This is all kind of speculation, but I think I'm pretty spot on here. If you really want the dirt, the nitty-gritty, the deep down dive into what's coming, check out Matthew Street's channel. He's a great guy. He's got a lot of exclusive information. So I'm not going to use that information since it was exclusive to Matthew. But I am going to offer what I think is going to happen. Everyone's talking about the Red and Blue albums coming out, remixes, and then adding that new song now and then, I think it's called. Here's my prediction of what's going to happen. Whatever comes out, people are going to complain. Now, they are going to remix tracks. They may add tracks to those, and people are going to complain. They're going to say that they should have chosen other tracks. And then on the second one, the Blue, they're going to add possibly Free as a Bird, Real Love, and the new song Now and Then. And people are going to complain. People are going to love it, and people are going to hate it. The people who are going to hate it are going to be very vocal when people express that they love it. Now, this is just my prediction. I'm not 100% sure this is going to happen. More than likely it will. Now, I'm also kind of thinking that maybe now and then, if they decide not to do the remixes of the Red and Blue compilations, then they're going to reissue McCartney 3, and they're going to add Now and Then to the end of that. That seems a little far-fetched, but McCartney 3 has been reissued many, many times before. Now let's talk about other solo Beatles recordings. Let's dig into the McCartney archives. London Town, Back to the Egg. They should come out in 2023 or 2024. But they probably won't, and we'll probably get a expanded edition of Press to Play, PU. But, that's okay, because people are going to love it, and people are going to hate it. Just my prediction. And then we're probably going to maybe get sometime in New York City. Oh, my goodness gracious. Not a good album at all. PU. But we might get a remix, and it'll sound better. I actually prefer Yoko songs on that album more than John songs, unfortunately. But just my opinion, and also my prediction. We also might get maybe Mind Games, a remix, remaster. I like that album quite a bit, actually. Will we get Ringo? Who knows? I kind of wish that we would get sort of an expanded edition of Ringo. It'll probably be way too expensive for me to afford, so I won't buy it. Hey, just my prediction. And then George Harrison, will we get Living in the Material World or something? Oh, gosh, maybe they might skip that and go straight into Dark Horse. Oh, my goodness, wouldn't that be awesome? Maybe they'll even do extra texture. Oh, boy, that's going to be good. No, not really. But just my prediction. But I do love the Beatles. Beatles, my favorite band of all time. But my goodness gracious, whatever they do, people are going to complain and people are going to love it. Just my prediction, just my opinion. And I really, really feel that maybe we should all just sit back and just love what we love, enjoy what we enjoy, and stop nitpicking everything and just dig the Beatles. I know I do. What about you? Do you dig the Beatles? I think you probably do. What are your predictions for 2023 and 2024? Are they close to mine? They might be. They might not be. But either way, thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate it. These are, I know that they're very shocking details, and maybe they might not be as in-depth as somebody like Matthew Street or Joe Mayo or somebody like that. Those guys know their stuff. Me, I just get on YouTube and talk nonsense for however long this video is. But I do appreciate you watching. I hope that my predictions come true, that there will be something released, and then people will love it, and people will hate it, and my goodness, this is such a wonderful, delicious world we live in, isn't it? Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, to ring that bell for future notifications. And until the next time, remember me. I'm Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie, and check out Ski Lodge Tuesday nights on my channel. Thank you. Hey everybody, my name is Steve Schnee, and welcome to this first episode of Nothing But the Fucking Beatles. This is a show that is Beatles-centric. We will be talking about nothing but the fucking Beatles. That's right, I will have special guests, and we can talk about the Beatles, we can talk about Paul, John, George, Ringo, their solo careers, but this show will focus on nothing but the fucking Beatles. Anybody that goes off script and talks about something that is not the fucking Beatles, I will boot them from the show. Guaranteed. That's right. This is nothing but the fucking Beatles. But before I continue, let me tell you a little bit about myself. See, I was CD Junkie. This episode, CD Junkie, all Beatles, and solo Beatles. There's a lot of talk, this is 2025, and it's the 60th anniversary of Rubber Soul and Help. So people are wondering, are we going to get those box sets this year? The remixes with outtakes and all that kind of stuff crammed into this big, heavy box. It costs a lot of money. Will we get them together? Will we get them separately? Will there be a box that says 1965 on the outside of it, and just feature all this great, wonderful stuff that came out in the year 1965. Or, as some speculate, will we be getting an expanded, updated, and remastered version of the Beatles anthology? The book is being reissued this year, or repressed. I believe it is updated and expanded. I'm not 100% sure, but that's the rumor. Well, I've got some speculation myself. I've worked in the music business, the music industry, for roughly about 40 years now. So I do know some people. So, hello, can you give me info on whatever's happening with the Beatles? That's right. Nobody picked up the phone. I was just talking to a busy signal, but at least I got to hold my phone up. Nobody under the age of 50 gets this anyway. But I have speculation on what is coming in 2025. These are going to be releases. Most of them are going to be Record Store Day, Black Friday, Record Store Day. But this is what's happening. First off, there is going to be a collection of unreleased Beatles tracks that they recorded right after Magical Mystery Tour, but before the White Album, because they felt that Magical Mystery Tour, the movie, was just going to be a tremendous hit, and they just wanted to get a jump on it. So they recorded an album called The Majestic and Magical Mirrored Bicycle. And if you look at this album cover, this is when John Lennon was going through his Kenny Loggins phase. He would do that on occasion. He went through a John Sebastian phase. If you watch the video to Hey Bulldog, and he's got the John Sebastian. But this was definitely him going through his Kenny Loggins phase. So that's a collection of unreleased recordings that nobody knew about. But there's also some great compilations that are... Do I want to say that these are actually really coming out, or do I just want to say this is all fake? No, I'm going to say it's... The next album that I've heard is coming out by the Beatles is called Silly Songs for Truck Drivers. It's just a collection of some of the Beatles songs that could be interpreted as silly songs for truck drivers, such as, I don't know the track listing. But another Beatles thing that's scheduled to be released, which is really, really exciting, is a collection for older people. So it's got more mellow songs and kind of trippy songs too. And it's called My First Post-Colonoscopy Beatles Album. And this is an album to listen to after you've had a colonoscopy. Now, a sexy Beatles album is coming out, and everybody always associates the Beatles with sexy. Some of their sexy songs like, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, it's called Stripping to the Fab Four. And that looks like it's really going to be exciting. Is this really coming out in 2025? I don't know. It might. This one might be 2026. I'm not 100% sure. Another one that's really super exciting. This was actually recorded right after Abbey Road. Actually, all four Beatles were involved in it, and it's called The Beatles Sing the Hits of the Brady Kids. And you've got Time to Change. You've got the theme to the Brady Bunch. So many of your favorite Brady Kid songs. All performed by the Beatles, and just, imagine, I've heard 3 songs from it, and during the Time to Change, Paul's using his "Oh Darling" voice. It's incredible. It's very powerful, very emotional and powerful. And then, of course, that reunion album that we never got, they actually did record it. The Beatles did get together in 1976 for about 3 weeks, and they laid down some songs. It wasn't new material. They just figured, people just want to hear the old Beatles hits, but they also want to dance. So the Beatles disco album is also coming in 2025. Ooh, that sounds like it's a whole lot of fun. I know some people go, well, I don't want the Beatles. I want a George album. There's always cool George things coming out every year. I want a Paul thing. Guess what? There's solo stuff coming too. Let's start with George. George has 2 albums coming this year. One of them is called George Harrison and His Stupid Sitars. And that's really, really good. Now, everybody knows the Traveling Wilburys. Well, before that project came to be, George Harrison was in L.A. He was working on a different project, sort of a supergroup project. It was George Harrison and the Doobie Brothers featuring Michael McDonald. They didn't have time to do any overdubs, so the album was never released. But it's a smoking album. It is awesome. Let's go to Ringo. Now, Ringo's got 2 releases. He's got a CD coming and he's got a DVD coming. The first one is called Don't Pass Me By and Other Mediocre Ringo Songs, which features some of his Beatles tracks like Boys, Don't Pass Me By, and pretty much all of side 2 of Ringo the Fourth, from his solo career. And it just really neat collection of songs. He's also got a DVD coming out. He was the original celebrity to take a trip into outer space, courtesy of Jeff Bezos' Wiener rocket ships. And he's putting out a DVD of that whole project where he is actually shot into space and he performs a medley of Little Richard songs. And that is called Ringo Starr in Outer Space. And that's really fun. If you haven't seen that on YouTube, definitely check it. No, they actually pulled that down off of YouTube because they're releasing it here. Well, John Lennon has 2 albums coming. One of them was an album he recorded towards the end of the Beatles. This was when he came over to Toronto to record the, that Live Peace in Toronto album, with that super group. He actually got together with some local musicians and he recorded an album that was never released. And the name of the album and the band is John Lennon and the Kentucky Fried Chicken Bucket Band. And those recordings are finally coming, which is fantastic. And John Lennon was also a big fan of that, the Chipmunks sing the Beatles hits, and he decided he had to record with them. So around the time he was recording Double Fantasy, he actually went into the studio and recorded a whole album with the Chipmunks. And that album's finally coming out. I think some of the Cheap Trick guys are on this album too, because they were, they're all in the studio at the same time. Now, that's it with the John stuff. And finally, we got Paul. We've got three Paul releases that are supposed to be coming this year. Are any of these really going to be coming out? I don't know. I guess we're just going to have to wait. But the 3 Paul McCartney albums that are coming out, the first one, fascinating. It's one of his artsy-fartsy avant-garde albums, and it's called Paul McCartney Sings The Residents. That's right. Paul McCartney Sings The Residents. So you're going to get songs like Harry the Head. You're going to get, what else does he do on this album? Hello Skinny. He does Walter Westinghouse. Yeah, it's a really cool collection. Another one, it was originally supposed to be a children's album, but it's a little bit more rocky than you'd expect. It's a collection of unreleased tracks from throughout his career, but they all have a basic theme to them. And the album is called Silly Songs About Gophers. And finally, the final McCartney thing, everyone thought that he was in the studio working on McCartney 4, but no, he was in the studio working on a very special album called Paul McCartney and Kid Rock Sing Today's Country Hits. Bingo! Boom, boom, hello! This is going to be awesome. It's going to be a great year for Beatles releases. What do you think? You think any of these are going to happen? They might hold them off till 2026. I don't know. But there's just going to be just this great flow of Beatles releases that probably won't come out. I mean, they probably will come out. I mean, whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, to ring that bell for future notifications. And until the next time, remember me, Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie. CD Junkie. On this episode of CD Junkie that I call Beatles Bonanza. Oh gosh, I'm using that title just for the algorithm, just to get more views and stuff. But this is actually about Beatles. Now, what a lot of people don't realize, and I have to admit I do say this quite often, but a lot of people don't listen to me, is the Beatles is my favorite band of all time. I've forgotten more about the Beatles than a lot of people know, but that's just over the years. It's because I stopped digging into the lore and the mythology and stuff, and I just listened to music, and oh gosh, Beatles just absolutely amazing. They set the standard so high that nobody's ever going to touch it, unless you're called Taylor Swift. But let me tell you about a gift that I received yesterday. But I will preface it by saying the person that gave me this gift is a longtime family friend. I've known this person since junior high school. That's a long time ago. But I've known this person for many, many, many years. In fact, I've actually played in a band with him. Yeah. I'm a musician. No, actually, I'm not a musician. I pretended I was a singer for a little while, but I really wasn't. So anyway, I go over to my brother's house yesterday. And, visiting with a few friends, and it was a holiday, but I'm not stating the holiday only because somebody might be watching this video in July or something. And, I don't want them to go like, oh, I don't want to hear about that holiday. Let's just put it this way. Thanks for my friend giving me this Beatle bounty. It's going to blow your mind. I mean, my mind was blown that I think a piece of brain dribbled out of my ear. So absolutely amazing, astounding, and exciting. And I'm not going to make you wait much longer. So let's start with the first thing that I received from my friend in my Beatles Bonanza video. And that is the album Roll Over. Me being a big Beatles fan. It's called Revolver. I'm sorry. No, I knew that. Come on. I'm just trying to psych you out. This is incredible. Absolutely incredible. These are all CD box sets, of course. If they were vinyl, I would have cried and stormed off. Now, I never even had the 2 CD version. That was in my Amazon cart, waiting to be purchased. Anyway, let's go on to the next gift that I received from my friend. I'm talking about Sgt. Pepper. That's right, the Sgt. Pepper album. Or is it, there's a period there, so it's pronounced Sgt. Pepper. So, yes, this is 4 audio CDs and a Blu-ray DVD. Oh, my goodness gracious. This is incredible. This is the Beatles, and I cannot believe that. These were gifts to me, and I'm so appreciative of them because, like I said, Beatles my favorite band, and I wanted these from afar. I felt bad going on Spotify and listening to them. But I would sneak some Spotify listens. And I knew one day I'd sit at the window. One day. But actually now I own them. So anyway, thank you to my friend for getting those. I appreciate you watching this video. But keep watching because there's more. That's right. This is the White Album. Can you believe it? The Super Deluxe White Album. Now, what a lot of people don't know is the reason they call it the White Album is because when the Beatles had it manufactured, they told the printer to print the album covers about 1/4 inch wider than anything else on the shelves. So it would actually, when people would walk in the store and they'd say like, oh, what's the new Beatles album? And they'd go, oh, it's the wide one because it's like wider than all the other. Oh, it's the White Album. Never mind. Anyway, there you go. Super Deluxe. Holy frey holy. Anyway, thank you to my friend for getting it's psyching you out again. Next one is Abbey Road. This album was so popular that they named a street after it in England. And this is, or was it vice versa? I don't remember. Like I said, my Beatles knowledge. Like I said, I've forgotten a lot of stuff, so maybe I get that mixed up. But there you go. The Super Deluxe. This makes me feel all Super Deluxe good inside. Absolutely amazing. Incredible. Anyway, that's it. I'd actually like to thank you for watching this video. Thank you to my friend for these awesome gifts. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, to ring that bell for future notifications. And until the next time, remember me. I'm Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie. Psych! Still one more. Let It Bleed. This is my favorite. See, they call it Let It Be, right? But here's another clue for you all about Paul's death. Look at John, George, and Ringo all happy and all that kind of stuff, right? But look at Paul with the blood-splattered wall behind him. They actually called this album Let It Bleed. And no, seriously. And then the Stones said, can we buy that title off of you? And the Beatles were like, all right, we'll just take a couple letters off and we'll call it Let It Be. So another Super Deluxe. Thank you so much for these wonderful gifts to my friend. Yes, no more psych outs. That is it. I'm so absolutely grateful to own these. Thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. Remember to like, comment, share. Hey, everybody. It's me, Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie. I want to talk about bad parenting. I know it's a... Look, I just got to come clean. I'm a bad parent. My daughter is 34 years old, and she couldn't name all four Beatles' first and last name. And I don't think that I have been more disappointed in myself. You know, you might think, he's a bad YouTuber. No, I'm not. You might think, that guy's a bad worker. No, nope. You might think, that guy's, he's a bad boy, if you know what I mean. No, I'm not. I'm just a bad parent. How could I raise a daughter whom I love dearly, who's really one of the smartest people I know, but she didn't know the Beatles' first and last names? And that hurts. Because I'm a music geek. I'm a music nerd. I even know their middle names. Now I'm thinking I'm creepy. But no, the Beatles, okay, you don't hear me talking about the Beatles a lot on my channel because everybody talks about the GD Beatles. It's not a new band. I just use GD because I don't like to say the dirty words here on my channel. Oh, I do like to say them, but I edit them out. But the Beatles, my favorite band of all time, absolutely bar none. In fact, they raised the bar so high. There are some angels with harps who can't play as good a song as the Beatles. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be, maybe I'm just angry with the world now because the Beatles, the friggin' Beatles. I've said, like I said just a few moments ago, and I'm going to say it again, the Beatles. My favorite band of all time. I just don't feel comfortable talking about the Beatles because everybody else does it so exquisitely and so eloquently. And me, I would just be going like, I really like A Long and Winding Road. It's pretty. But I love the Beatles. Lately, like the last couple months, I've been, when I go to bed, I get my little iPod Touch, and I decide, well, what folder am I going to listen to when I go to sleep? Okay. And I've got like 3 Beatles folders. I've got Beatles, which is just my favorite Beatles songs. Then I've got another folder, Beatles remixes, which is my favorite Beatles songs from those remixed albums. Now, I don't have those albums handy with me. I do have them up on the shelf in there, and I'll show them to you here. But, I have all the box sets with the alternate take stuff. But no, this particular folder is just the remixes. And then I have another folder for U.S. albums mixes, the Dave Dexter mixes. And I have 2 box sets of those that my dear friend Robert P. helped me get. And I love this stuff. I mean, love. When I put the headphones on, I fall asleep not because it's boring. I fall asleep because it's so calming and relaxing. You can even get something upbeat and crazy like Helter Skelter. I don't have that on the mix, so I'm just using that as an example. But it's because I've heard it so many times. You know what? I'm not a sycophant. I'm not the kind that goes like, I really like flying because it's, this or that. Look, if I like flying, but if I didn't like it, I'd tell you I didn't like it. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the song Come Together. I cannot stand Old Brown Shoe. I cannot stand some songs. I mean, just friggin' you. When me and my brother were kids, we would listen to the song Why Don't We Do It in the Road? But I thought it was like talking about going to the bathroom. Why don't we do it in the road? But I was like 5, 6, 7, 8, and we'd giggle, why don't we do it in the road? We didn't know what they were talking about. It's kind of embarrassing to think about now what they were talking about. Beatles didn't do that. They didn't go potty in the road, and they didn't do the voti odi odi in the road either. But this is such an amazing band, and I did not share this love of this music with my daughter. And I was thinking about that today, because I started thinking, well, wait a minute. Okay, so how come I didn't play the Beatles around my daughter? I was married to her mother at the time, obviously. But we were playing a lot of the modern music at that point. When we had come together, we were listening to the new wave, Ultravox or Crowded House or Split Enz or, Tears for Fears, all that kind of stuff. And when Holly was born in 1990, we were still continuing playing that stuff. I don't remember if my first wife was a fan of the Beatles. So they just didn't get played a lot. Plus, I was on this kind of weird vibe. After John Lennon was killed, I couldn't listen to the Beatles for a long time. It was, like when Elvis died, I dived right back into the Elvis catalog. I only had a few albums out at that time. But when John Lennon died, I couldn't listen to the Beatles. I'd listen to stuff on the radio, but I just didn't want to pull out. I mean, maybe for a couple days, pulling out, Double Fantasy or Shaved Fish or something. But after a while, I just couldn't listen to the Beatles, and I sort of shut them out for many, many years. I didn't actually get back into the Beatles. I mean, I was into the Beatles. I mean, we were listening to the Beatles when we were 3, 4, 5 years old. Because my parents were fans, and my Aunt Lori was a big fan. And I stopped listening to the Beatles in about 1980. I was working retail at Licorice Pizza when the first Beatles CDs were coming out in 87. So I remember that, but I didn't buy them. In fact, I did not buy any Beatles music. I think for 29 years after John Lennon died. I heard it all the time, everywhere. Friends would play it. You hear it on the radio. But I didn't buy anything until the remasters that came out in September of 2009. In fact, I have a compilation when those came out. This is a sampler, 2 CD sampler. I'm sure this is pretty common out there. And but that's a good collection of Beatles stuff. I had that, plus I bought all the additional CDs. And it was interesting, to reconnect with the music. And over the years, I've definitely, reconnected with all of it. But like I said, there are songs that I don't care for. Seriously, I do not care for Come Together. It's not a bad song. Remember, I don't think much of this is a bad song. I mean, I won't listen to Don't Pass Me By. Like I said, Old Brown Shoe, and For You Blue, I think is okay. I Mean Mine's okay. Within You, Without You, geez, I seem to be naming off all George Harrison songs. I don't mean to, but it's just such a great, wonderful band. There's, anybody who says that, oh, this band is overrated, oh, you're a liar. Oh my God. This is an amazing band. And I think that they deserve to be talked about everywhere. But just my channel is sort of devoted to talking about bands that not a lot of people know about. To my detriment, to the detriment of the popularity of my channel, I choose to talk about bands that don't get enough love out there. And I think that the Beatles get plenty of love out there. They've got the, documentary coming out. They've got all the 1964 mono albums coming out on vinyl. I pay attention to all this kind of stuff, and it's fantastic for the collectors. I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, it's a money grab, because guess what? The people, the fans, are willing to pay the money to get it. And it's special to them. And the Beatles deserve to be special They deserve to be embraced, lovingly embraced. What they did for music, it'll never happen again. But they changed music. Change is wonderful. The Beatles showed us that it can be done. You know, there's a big difference between Not a Second Time and Getting Better or Hey Bulldog. It's amazing. And yes, I do love Long and Winding Road and Let It Be. People say they're overplayed. Guess what? I don't listen to the radio. Not overplayed in my house. Casa de Spaz, Casa de CD Junkie. Amazing, amazing band. I know that you all know that. But now I feel like a bad parent because my daughter doesn't know that. Maybe I should have said, you know what? Not so much Duran Duran in this household. Maybe a little bit more Beatles. Thank you for watching this video. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. Ring that bell for future notifications. And until the next time, remember me, I'm Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie.